Okay. All right. So this one, what's up, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. Hope you're having a good day. If you're not, I hope after the podcast you're gonna feel a little better. And just remember, it's all about being present, changing the thoughts that you're thinking about. Stop thinking about the future all the time. Stop thinking about the past, and just be fucking present and enjoy. Just enjoy where you're at. So let's take a deep breath, real quick. One more time. And just be present. Feel the surroundings. Be super happy that you are where you are, and I'm happy for you. I'm proud for you. I'm glad that you are where you are, and you're gonna keep progressing, moving forward as a person. But just be present now. Be happy with it. All right. So this one I want to talk about. what's the title? My Abusive Mom. Okay. I'm not the only one. I'm sure people have grown up with some sort of abuse. And again, the word abuse is just. It sounds pretty fucked up, but it is what it is, right? It's abuse. But here's the thing. Now, I'm gonna share some stories in terms of like things that happened with me, but let me share the stories first, okay? So my mom, I love my mom. Shout out to you, Mom. Now, growing up, she was super fucking strict. Great person. Took me to every fucking church possible. Both fucking hit me, man. Like, would just hit me. Like I'd be like, I don't know what it was. There's certain things. Of course, I'm sure there's probably times that like I got her upset over some dumb shit, but it wasn't like, I don't know. It wasn't like I wasn't coming home in cuffs. Like police weren't at my door. Things like that. I don't know, but. So growing up, I was just like, why did I fucking get beat, man? Like I would get beat. One time, like she went outside, got like a twig or like a stitch, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and then before hitting me, decided to run it under warm water, and then would hit me. Okay, like over some dumb like something in school or whatever the fuck, like, but like, yeah, shit like that. Smack me across the face. I remember one time when I was like 8 or 9, like we lived downstairs in somebody's basement. It was and like I don't know what the fuck I did, but she was like, "Stay in the fucking bathtub, go to bed there. Nobody wants you here," or some shit like that. And so the idea was he's gonna have to stay in the bathtub and sleep there all night naked. You know what I mean? And that's some fucking like when you think about it, like when you describe it, it's like, man, that's some fucked up shit. And then so basically, like that night, I cried I cried as much as I could. I was like, oh, and she would come in, and I'm like, all right, fine. If I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna take this shower curtain and just lay here in the tub. And then she came and like take the shower curtain, and yell at me, and fucking no, you're not doing that. And again, those were things I fucking went through. You know what I mean? Like, or there was another situation where it was like report card day. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I was like, how old was I? I don't know. I was fucking young. It was elementary school. And I was like, I'm going to walk to school. You know what? Because I can. And obviously I was taking the bus for a reason because it was pretty fucking long. And I get it, right? Like I get it. So I get it in terms of like why she would be upset. But I walked and then I made it to school and I don't think I walked back. I think I got dropped. Yeah, I think I dropped off in the bus. But as soon as she was there, like, I would come in and like, I would always know. I'm like, fuck. Like, you know what I mean? Like, shit. She's like, come on, over here. She's like, and then I had like, there was like this little stool. I'm sit over here. Sit right here. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. It's like, and I think, I don't know how it went down first. I don't know if I showed her the report card. I was like, Mom, I got my report card, or I think that's what it was, something like that. Because I knew it was like some shit was going on. So I think I was like, hey, Mom, I got my report card. I did really well. A's and B's, right? You're listening to an honor roll student throughout my whole career, okay, even college. So, but that day, it didn't fucking matter, because I got my ass beat for walking to school. Now, I get it, and I guess that would be a good, and so. That would be a good leadway in terms of like understanding, right, why she would be upset in regards to me walking, because of safety, more of safeties. And I think for her it was just her inability to figure out a way to express like, yo kid, you made me really scared, And it could have been dangerous because this could have happened, and if that would have happened, then I would have been destroyed, or something along those lines, right? Instead of like, don't do that shit again. And it's funny because we can laugh about it now. I can laugh about it now, but it's certain things like that, right? So, but the leadway is this: is understanding, I guess understanding her perspective, right? And it took me a while to get out of my own fucking vision. Like when we grow up, and it's obviously obviously duh, like we live our own fucking lives under the I, right? It's like, I am this, I am Wilson, I am here, I am going to work, this is what I am doing. I get it. I feel like one of the big ahas or points of perspectives or keys to like life, right? To like unlocking or mastering part of life is to then having the perspective of what someone else may be going through. That isn't yourself. That isn't you, right? And so for the longest, and I'm 100%, I'm 100% that there are people out there that feel or have felt the same way, have grown up in similar situations, or if not worse. Now, there's a certain percentage in the population that I feel there may be some sort of mental development issue, or and when it comes to like, let's just put it out there in terms of like being fully functional of the mental side of things, in terms of like how your biology is, right? In terms of like your brain, how it works and how it functions. There's a certain percentage out there that need additional, whether it's therapy or maybe drugs to kind of like fix that. I feel, right? There's always like a deformity in the masses of society. There's always like a 3% that unfortunately, don't have the full mental capacity or whatever. And you can see that throughout the whole like level or vertical of society, right? So there's a certain percentage that I feel like they can't do anything about that unless somebody knows and treats it in a medical way, right? Outside of that, I think there's also people that, like, for example, my mom, or most likely everybody else in a similar situation, in those moments or in those situations, they're not very cognitive, or they don't have the raised awareness to understand what the fuck they're doing to this other individual in front of them, the people that we love, right? Our kids, our husbands, wives, whatever, et cetera, like the people that we love. I don't think there's that ability, right, to be coherent enough and conscious enough in those moments to realize that, right? So that's what I think it was with my mom. Now, for the longest, my relationship with my mom was up and down, and I think there was a time, it was like either 2 or almost 3 years that we just did not speak, and I'm sure there's people out there that probably have longer terms, right? So it was that, or we would talk on the phone and she would say something and then try to say something else, and then I would say, yeah, but what about this shit? Like, if that means, then why would you do this to me? All this resentment shit, right? Like, they would just come out, and then we'd either have a blow up, and then we wouldn't talk for a couple weeks or a couple months or whatever, and the one time led to like 3 years. And so this was my relationship with my mom. She kicked me out of the house. We had blowouts, man. Like she used to hit my little brothers too, and like then I got older, and I would used to go to the gym, and I was like, nah, this fucking ain't happening. Yo, da, blah, you gotta hit him, you fucking hit me, and then she fucking hit me, but she got tired, she had the belt downstairs with my brother Jeff, and then like that happened, but she fucking hit me, and I was like just on this fucking fuel of just rah, and I was like, hit me harder, and she fucking just wailed on me until she got tired. And that was, all of these things, right? But like, this is what my relationship with my mom has been for the longest, like the longest. And so not until about 3 years ago was I was just thinking like prospectively, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was like, I had a conversation with her previously or whatever. and then I thought about it. I was like, well, this is what I said to her. I was like, well, if you were her, growing up the way she did, leaving Colombia at 19 years old, had a kid, came to America, right? And it was like a mostly, again, man world where like women weren't treated fairly as even like whatever, you know what I mean, right? Like, let's just cut the bullshit. Like, like women weren't fucking treated nicely back then. And, it's getting better, but still. So that, being lied to by other men, having two other kids by other, or an additional kid, who's my younger brother, like by a man that lied to her and then like left her, like, you know what I mean? Like, worked at a corporation. It's called Metex Corporation. You can look that shit up. Like they made Honda parts. Like it just worked with like, and like this bullshit of at 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, trying to fucking make it in America, not knowing the language, being a female, being lied to by every fucking dude to just fucking, fuck you. Like basically it's like, would you have done better? You know what I mean? Like, so I realized that. I'm like, I thought about that. I was like, man, she, and then growing up, like my grandfather was, at some point he was an alcoholic, beat on my grandma, also like cheated on grandma all the time. And so it's like, she grew up with this shit, right? And she used to get beat like by my abuelito. And it's the same thing. So it's the same thing for him. It's like, okay, I'm sure there's got to be some sort of resentment, but at some point, who fucked him up? Like who didn't have the moment or the perspective of awareness to like figure that out? And that's where the cycle comes. And you've heard it where it's like, well, the reason I don't beat my kids because I used to get beat up, but I'm changing the cycle. It's like, exactly, like like that person has raised maybe they don't, maybe they're just like, I'm just not doing it. And they're not 100% sure or conscious that they have this raised awareness. And they're just like, I just know I don't want to do it because that's what happened and I didn't like it, which is, again, it's the same thing that we talked about last episode. Is they didn't like that outcome, so why would you continue doing it for the people that you love, aka your kids or your offspring, right? Like, why would you do that? So that was my point of perspective. That was my aha moment where I was like, I was like, would you have done equally or better than her in that situation, knowing what you have prospectively seen, or like understand in terms of not your eye, but her eye? I'm like, no, I probably would not have done better or equally or have done better in that situation if that was happening. And so that was the question that I asked myself, and that was the answer. And then I called her right then, and I realized, and I said, hey, Mom, I just want to let you know from today forward, I want you to know that there is no resentment. Okay. I love you. And then I took her through the whole perspective, the whole thing. And I said, and that's why I realized that, I realized it, and I know that you're sorry, I know that you're sorry about the things that you did, the things that you're sorry about, because I know that there are things. And so I appreciate that, and I accept your apology, right? I didn't need her to say sorry. I think that was also a good thing, like a given thing. It's like, I don't need to have her say sorry, but I know she is. So I'm like, I accept your apology. And then since that day, we've had a much better relationship. I'm not saying like, there wasn't like a day where I was like, all right, Ma, listen, I got to get off the phone, but we've had a much better relationship. And I can see that she's also on this path of like being more conscious and being perspective and just like, doing her thing in a different way, where it used to be like, things like that. So, yeah, and that was 3 years ago. So it's taken me quite a bit of time to realize that. So my point here is this. If you're in a similar situation, or if you have resentment towards either anybody in your life, really is what it is, give yourself the moment to put yourself in their shoes, quote unquote, but really give yourself the perspective. Like, how'd they grow up? What were they going through? What was the situation in those situations? And, and I think once you do that for most people, right? Like everybody in the world, basically, if you give somebody at least a consideration of understanding, like, hey, where the fuck is this individual at this very moment? Or where were they when they did something to me that caused me, negative feeling or negative impact? And then see and ask yourself if you would have done better, or equally in that situation. And then that'll give you a little bit of perspective. And I'm not saying that you have to forgive them right away. I'm not saying that you have to forgive them at all, but at least it gives you a perspective to see it in a way of like, man, somebody fucking missed out their opportunity to help that individual. And once you realize that, like, you know, you can heal certain things. You can let some of the things go without necessarily having an apology or, you know, accepting it, you know, and then feeling good about it. Because now my relationship with my mom is a lot better. All right. So I hope you like that one. I hope that helped. You're loved, you know, to the person out there. You're loved. Okay. The person loves you. Somebody out here loves you. And just go figure it out, you know, give yourself the time and the love and the space to heal and those family and those, especially those closest to you. Okay. All right. Have a great day. Enjoy yourself. And if you're not feeling good, just remember, change your thoughts or stop your thoughts, breathe, and just be present in the moment. And nothing changes until you do. Talk to you soon.